Says your browser failed to play the video clip.
Hey, Redcasters, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Go Big Red.
Welcome to the Go Big Redcast, the Husker Fan Sports Show.
Welcome to the Go Big Redcast. I'm your host, David Gaspers, and I'm with Rob.
Well, what would you say here? I mean, we no Honky tonight, no Abby tonight. I'm running the background videos. I'm running the intros. I'm doing all of that. So, of course, we run into an immediate technical difficulty not being able to get everybody unmuted. But welcome to the Go Big Redcast.
Thanks, Rob, our technician tonight. Also with Boomer.
And Boomer's muted too, but that's okay.
There we go. Now we're unmuted.
Yep.
We're on fire tonight. Fire,
I tell you. Folks. Yeah. I got it sad that Honky and Abby can't be with us. From what I understand, Abby's on a plane to Baton Rouge as we speak, and Honky's somewhere out in Penn State, but we're hoping to be able to pitch you a couple of Oreo cookies to bring him back to the show. So it's worked for BYU, so why not us?
I mean, right now this show is starting out a lot like our defense looked against Iowa. Right now, so.
Oh, we're not that bad, Rob. Come on.
So many holes. Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
You think by this time of the season you'd have those fixed, right?
The season's done, Dave. Oh, well, I mean, right. We do have a bowl. We do have a bowl game, but
we do have a bowl game.
Yeah.
We do have a bowl game. Well, yeah, you're right, Rob. I mean, we are 12 games in. That is a full regular season. Nebraska finishes 7-5 with that disappointing loss to Iowa, and it could be a long off season. It could be an interesting one. We'll cover a bunch of football here on the comings and goings in Lincoln, including the firing of John Butler, and maybe think about who could replace him and what the future of the Rule era is. Boomer, I think you named the show Progress. And I guess that's what we're going to tackle tonight, right?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the thing everyone's been bantering around the last week since this loss to Iowa. Coming off the loss to Penn State, was this season what you'd call progress? Have we improved? We clearly didn't take that third year Matt Rule bump that he was famous for at all of his other stops, and so that's been the question. Would you call this year a success? I mean, sure, it was in the win column. We had one more regular season win than we did the prior year. But can you say that this season was progress for what you expected it to be, especially going into this season with the offseason talk, the hype? You got Raiola back for a second year. The things we heard about the offensive and defensive lines being improved. Because I remember, at the beginning of this season, I think when we were talking about our floors for what we'd call success, I think 8 wins was pretty common. I even put it, mine was almost closer to 9, just given what we expected, what we had back, and
the schedule.
Yeah, just what it was. It was a soft schedule. I mean, we thought it was on paper going in, and it sure as heck turned out to be. I mean, in a lot of ways, you couldn't have asked for it to be set up better. You had Cincinnati moving a game to Kansas City for you, which essentially was a home game, and that turned into your best win for the year. You caught a lot of teams with freshman quarterbacks or backup quarterbacks in. You had coaches fired on some of these teams that we played. You're playing, you're coaching against, playing against interim coaches. I mean, you really can't ask for a better setup than that.
We did beat UCLA, so I mean,
yeah, we did. So there's that. So that definitely
right?
helped. So that was definitely that. But
I mean, I can't complain too much, Boomer. My streak got broken, but I understand the general malaise about the outcome of the season. And I think 7-5 by most Nebraska fan standards is a disappointment. I think my my expectation was 8-4. I know producer Skip had for I don't know how many years in a row a large bet on Nebraska exceeding their win total, and he failed again, taking the over on 7.5 and not delivering. So Rob, the question of progress is real. There is, some caveats there, some asterisks. I mean, I am one to think that I think we had a fair shot of beating USC with Dylan at quarterback.
I think we would have won that game if he didn't get hurt.
Yeah, we were in the lead and inside the 30-yard line with a first down, I believe. I mean, we were in a position to put ourselves in a pretty good spot right there in the next few plays, potentially, even with some of the challenges with protecting the quarterback and all those things, right? And so, I mean, things could have broken differently, right?
Yeah, I mean, and of course that's the one game too where I was on an airplane and I was trying to watch the game, and then I had to go back and rewatch it after the fact, and I mean, it's just something that was driving me crazy, and I think that it was emphasized even more so in the Iowa game, is that it feels like we have an offensive coordinator in Dana that doesn't seem to know how to plan in case of an emergency break glass plan. There was no backup plan or plan B. I mean, it seemed pretty evident. Dylan got hurt. TJ came into the game. You would think that there'd be some kind of like contingency for that, right? Like, okay, if TJ comes in, here's what he's really good at. This is what we're going to do with him. It's like we had to wait to see that against UCLA. And then against Penn State, I'm speechless about that game. It was embarrassing. It was like the team just didn't show up at all. And that to me was like on the entire coaching staff. And then against Iowa, we were in the game pretty much up until the point where, again, for some reason, the one unit that seemed to be playing so well all year long just literally like fumbled the ball line. He picked it up, but then I don't know. First of all, let me just say that probably should have been, I don't know how that was not a targeting call. The guy came in, lowered his helmet, put his helmet into the face mask of Barney, causing Barney to fumble the ball. And somehow they did not call that targeting. So there was no penalty, turned around and, ended up giving, Iowa the safety and then the ball. And then basically from that point on, the game just got out of hand.
Yeah, no, I hear you, Rob. And we were texting about that during the game. And that to me was a textbook targeting call.
Yeah.
Boomer, I mean, do you feel like Rob just kind of ran through the last 3 or 4 games there, but was there any other time in the season where when you first had real doubt creep in on where was progress being made?
Well, clearly the Minnesota game. I mean, that stands out, even now, after a couple other blowouts, but just the fact that you went in, to Minnesota where we apparently talked about, how physical they were and just got completely manhandled by a Gophers team that hadn't done that to anyone really all season and never did again, per se. I mean, they made a bowl game and, they're a decent, they're the normal average Minnesota Big Ten team that they are, but we just looked completely unprepared for that. That was with Dylan. That was a 9-sack game. It looks like we made a few adjustments there. The sacks, did start to decline from that game on, thankfully. Mm-hmm. But again, they still, let sacks happen. And that's, and that was the kind of game where if you really wanted to say, hey, we're making progress, you've got to win that kind of a game. Something to separate yourself from the kind of the upper middle class of the Big Ten, I guess.
Yeah.
You're not always going to beat the Ohio States, the Indianas, the Oregons, every time you play them, or even USC at this point. But if you want to start taking those steps to separate yourself, you've got to win the games versus the Minnesotas, the Illinois, those kind of teams.
Illinois was good this year, though.
Yeah, right? They were decent, but I think they probably fell flat or short of where they expected to be.
Yeah,
I think this
that's
season.
True.
Yeah, so there was just we didn't do anything to really separate ourselves from that. We won Maryland, but again, could have lost that game. We beat Northwestern, could have lost that game. And there was just so much. Everything was either closer than it needed to be, or just a big failure. I mean, really, if you wanted to call it a lot of progress this year.
I think one of the challenges of this year was the defensive line and the turnover that occurred there, where we lost Nash and Ty Robinson, and that was a significant downgrade. And I mean, when we had some of our early shows, that was one of the questions we brought up. I think a lot of people brought up is like, how how is that defensive line going to be able to compare to last year's? They're not quite as big. They're not as experienced. What's going to happen? And it was a sore spot from the get-go with Cincinnati's quarterback Swordsby, getting way too many yardage in crucial parts of that very first game. And it never really got much better. And maybe, as we probably learned, that was maybe a fundamental flaw of a John Butler defense, right? In the sense that with all of his experience in the NFL, he definitely is comfortable in prioritizing stopping the pass first and not the run. And in the Big Ten, you still need to be able to stop the run when you really need to. And those last two games in particular against good rushing attacks, Iowa and Penn State, that really, really proved out. So Boomer, Rob, John Butler, the John Butler era. What was your fondest memory?
Him getting fired. Honestly, I know it's so bad too, because technically everyone's like, oh, after 1 year. No, it was his second year. He had an opportunity to learn from last year's defense and at least try and I'll be honest, in the beginning of the season, I was like, I'm not that worried. Like, some of these guys coming back, like, they're gonna have a scheme. They know what these guys can do. A lot of these guys have playing time, right? Like, a lot of these guys did get a lot of playing time last year, and you know what they're capable of. So why not try and scheme for it, right? Knowing that our pass defense was so good, like, you should be scheming. There's got to be a way that we can continue, because we know the coverage is going to be behind them, to blitz, maybe bring one or two guys, contain the outside, anything that makes these guys play to what they're good at. And Butler all year just stuck to the same crappy game plan that basically it was frustrating. And I think mostly I was frustrated because I was so wrong about that, because I could see kind of a path to success on that side of the ball with the experience and some of the players we had. And it just, for lack of a better way, and sorry for the language, but it just took a complete shit the entire season. And a lot of times it was just so embarrassing. Like, oh my God, how do you not stop this guy, on the outside right there? And then sometimes the worst part is that when we did seem to have the run maybe contained at some point, we'd give up one big play where the guy would take off for 60 yards or miss a tackle on the outside that, could have stopped him on 3rd and long to giving up, a 15, 20-yard run. Right. And it's sure. It was embarrassing is the only word I can think of, as a fan watching that, because you've got guys like Honky, who I will call Honky a very, very intelligent football mind, right? In game watching, calling out what adjustments should be, things like that. He's almost always spot on, right? And you got guys like him doing that, pointing out what to him is the obvious. And then you've got guys that are making a shit ton of money to do it who aren't doing it. It's almost like pride and just stubbornness
and prejudice
are stopping them. What's that?
Nothing.
Pride and prejudice.
Pride and prejudice. Yeah. Well, we're very literate podcast.
Really are.
As well. Yes.
So do you think that the challenges with the defense, is it just a matter of personnel that, we lost Ty and Nash, or is it a scheme thing? Because I know one of the things Honky would always bring up was his frustration with 3-man fronts.
Yes.
Put those out, because not only is the defensive line questionable, the linebackers I don't think really played all that magnificently this season either. They seem to take some bad angles.
Sporadic, I would say, probably, right?
Yeah, sporadic is probably a good way to put it. It seemed like a lot of it had to be,
we're having a Mean Girls reference here too. Sporadic. The word of the day is sporadic.
But that's a great question, Boomer. I think it can be both, really, right? I think, in your ideal world, you have the depth that you can just plug and play the next two guys to come in and fill those same roles. But that wasn't the reality. Once it's not the reality, you got to be able to shift your scheme to some degree. And even with a really strong secondary where you've got a pretty legit shutdown corner. Iowa was one of the first teams to actually throw Sierra Wright's way in a long time, it feels like. And Andrew Marshall wasn't that bad of a second corner, really. The secondary is a strength, and you have that type of strength on your corners. You feel like you should have been able to bring a safety up and bring more people to the line and force a redshirt freshman Minnesota quarterback, for example, to really beat you through the air, right? And we didn't really do that, right? And even when we maybe did a little bit more of that at Iowa, Gronkowski actually, beat us enough, right? So overall, just a really poor performance, it feels like, on the defensive side. And that's why he's gone. And I'm really curious to see where Matt Rule goes with this. And it could tip his hand on how far he's pushing his chips into the table for next year, right? I feel like you got to go out and get a really high quality defensive coordinator that can make an impact on day one. And
so who do you think that is? I mean, what's the best choice? Where should we go?
Well, I personally hope it's not Jeff Collins. I'll tell you that. I mean, I know you mentioned that was a name, which obviously will get thrown out. I don't know if it has any credibility. Former Georgia Tech head coach, Temple head coach, that actually coached with Rule and took over Temple after Rule left. He's had defensive coordinator positions in the SEC before, et cetera, but that doesn't seem like the right thing here. I think you need another, Tony White 2.0 type guy that's going to bring a lot of energy and help with the transfer portal, in fact, right? So we'll see, right? But I think we need a real fix there fast, because it's a grueling schedule next year. And, I really do hope that we have Dylan Raiola still with us, and we can sell a team that can be competitive versus a really tough schedule to some high profile transfer portal folks. And we can really, fix this quickly, because if we're 7-5 again next year, Rule is going to really start to be on a very, very hot seat.
So, Dave, one name that I've heard quite a bit, and I don't know if there's going to be any momentum there or anything like that, was Jim Leonard. Rule, I guess, is friends with him, right? I mean, a lot of people, you see what he's doing with your Denver Broncos right now. He's the defensive back coach. He's got experience as a defensive coordinator in the Big Ten, so he knows what it takes to be successful there.
Defense runs a 3-man front.
Yeah, and
effectively in the Big Ten.
And Wisconsin's defense when he was there was, one of I think they were often a top 25, not top 10 team a lot of times. So it's like, do you think that's a possibility? I when it comes to coaching search and coaching hires, I admit, like, that's probably my, I just never really cared that much, to be honest. But
I'm generally unaware of the Matt Rule, Justin Leonard connection. Almost all coaches, especially at that level, probably have run into each other occasionally. But I don't think Tony White and Matt Rule had a strong connection beforehand. It was the right hire, right? And so
I wish he had stayed.
Yeah,
honestly.
Maybe he wished he would stay too.
Based off of what he saw, maybe, I don't know, maybe he just loves Florida that much that was, I was pretty bummed when that one happened.
Yeah. But no, I like that name. I would be okay with that name. I think that, and back to the whole point of progress, whether we're making it or not, in this day and age, 3 years is already a pretty good sample size. Now, to Matt Rule's credit, compared to the last two coaches, he looks better off than where Riley and Frost were at this stage.
Yeah, we win the bowl game. We're 8-5 overall in the season.
Right. Beggars can't be choosers, right?
Yeah. It's a hell of a lot better than we've been, right? So,
yeah. First time it's back-to-back bowls since 13 and 14. Is that probably right?
Yeah.
Sadly. Yeah.
I don't know.
Which crazy is that?
Winning seasons. So it's something, right? But it needs to to have a higher level of execution and delivering on some of the potential promise next year. A lot of that comes back to keeping Dylan, and then I do think, and Rule mentioned this, I believe, after the contract extension, is that that he felt like the commitment was there to have the right NIL budget to be competitive, and if you look at how small of our recruiting class is, it tells you they're going to hit the portal hard because they're only taking 10 guys in the freshman class, or whatever it is, right? So,
yeah,
other schools have done this, and if we can put our money where our mouth is, at this point, we're looking at buying one season of 10-2, right? Would go a heck of a long way.
Next year's schedule is an ass kicker, though. I mean, you look
Killer,
at Indiana, we've got
Ohio State, Oregon,
we've got Oregon, Washington,
Iowa on the road,
Illinois.
It's not going to be easy, but I mean, like, does this fan base really going to be
no, they don't give a shit.
And say, boy, that was a tough schedule.
I mean, we are this fan base, and I'll tell you right now, like, I don't give a shit who's on the schedule. Make this team better. You know what I mean? That's we've got the money, we've got the resources. There's absolutely no excuses at this point why we can't be, have like a Kurt Signetti type of turnaround, right? Like with this, if we go out there and hit the portal hard and bring some guys over from, some other programs that, should be able to make an impact. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, anything but less than that is an excuse, right? Quit talking about how much money we have, how we got the best resources, the best, the best training table. We've got, all these great things that people love to talk about as Nebraska fans. And yet, we're not seeing the actual results when it comes to any of that.
We're losing to Minnesota.
Yeah, we're losing to Minnesota, who
is blown out by Iowa at home.
I don't get it. And
Boomer, what do you think? What do you think is possible next year?
Oh God. Yeah, that's a tough question. First thing that this staff has to figure out is, what do they actually want to be? I mean, what is their identity? Because that's something I was contemplating, as this season went on and as it came to an end, is what would you say Nebraska football does well, or what is it they want to be? Because I've heard all sorts of things, like we've heard he wants to be a developmental type program, and now we're to the point where we're saying we got to hit the portal hard to try to win in 1 year. Those are two very different things. That's a different approach. We've heard how we want to be a physical team and win in the trenches, and we certainly haven't done that at this point. I mean, are we a running team? I don't know. We had Emmett Johnson, who's one of the best running backs in the country, but we have absolutely nobody with any amount of carries behind him.
No.
I mean, our offense was Emmett Johnson this year. If he hadn't come back, God only knows where the hell we would have been this season. I mean, we have to be honest about that. We have a quarterback like Dylan who clearly has pro prospects. We see him sometimes afraid to let him throw deep at times, and I don't know where that came from, why that happened.
Yep.
And like Rob said, it's like we don't seem to have any plans for when a backup is in. What Latif does well, do we have schemes for him? I don't know. And we've talked about it in a couple of earlier shows. It's like Latif and Dylan kind of seem to have some different skill sets, or what they seem to be good at. And if you're going to recruit for Dylan, that might not be what Latif's good at, or vice versa. So you've got to decide what it is you want to be as a program and have some identity, because that's something we've been missing. Because that's something, Minnesota has. They have an identity. Iowa, that's one of the things people talked about, when we talked about that game. They know what they are, Maybe they're always an 8 kind of win team, but they were close this year. But you know what you're getting with Iowa. You always know what you are. You know what you're getting with.
They are who we thought they are.
Yeah, there's no surprises there. Even Penn State, you kind of knew what they were going to do. Everyone kind of said that. Indiana, you know what they are. Ohio State knows what they are. I don't have a clue what Nebraska is right now. I don't know. And if they know, figure that out. Yeah, everybody's trying to get the best players in the portal. You'll see tweets and things like that. All they need to do is simply go out and get, 4 elite defensive linemen, a couple of NFL, ready offensive linemen, 2 running backs, and a whole new cadre of receivers. And it's that simple.
Partridge in a pear tree.
Well,
Exactly.
I'll tell you. I mean, the example that's real, and I mean, I'll try to spin this on a more positive note. I guess is Texas Tech this year, right? I mean, they clearly spent a lot more than what we spent. They did get difference makers. They didn't turn over the entire class, right? They weren't Dion at Colorado with 78 new players, but they brought in impact players at all the key positions. And surrounded that around a quarterback that they had a lot of faith in, and it wasn't just getting wide receivers; it was getting offensive linemen, defensive linemen, and impact players on both sides of the ball. And they're a 4 seed right now in the tournament, right? So it's a real thing where the 20 million is now just revenue sharing, and you have to spend above and beyond that. And Texas Tech showed that if you can identify who you need, what you want, and you can outbid other teams, you can make a huge leap in 1 year. And that's what they did. Now you could say, well, that's against the idea of being a developmental program. But I think in this day and age, and this is the positive spin part of it, you really need to rethink how to get to that degree of development mode, right? And like we cannot turn the page on where we're at if we keep on losing players like Ernest Hausman, for example, right? Could you imagine Ernest Hausman on this team? He would have been a great middle linebacker on this team and changed the complete dynamic nature of that defense, right? But we didn't have him. And we have to have at least one, if not more, really good seasons here that can turn that perception around so we can maintain those players. Even if we're offering the same amount of money as someone like Michigan, a lot of folks are going to leave because they think they have better draft potential or they like the coach better, all that type of stuff. And we have to change that perception. And how Iowa or Minnesota even just a decade ago did it is maybe not quite so feasible in this day and age. So one where I don't know if the fan base has the patience, right? I mean, if this was only because it was third year for Rule and we've had recent success, we'd be anxious, but maybe we could see that as worth it. But over a decade plus of absolute mediocre football, I just don't know, right?
Yeah, I mean, go out there, throw a bag at some of these players, get them in. I mean, we talked about before the season, this team is the youngest team in the Big Ten. We only had 32 upperclassmen, and we've got a huge, redshirt freshman, sophomore class. So all those guys are obviously going to be a year older next year, hopefully a year more developed. Maybe we are building a developmental program like we want to. We don't have a huge class coming in this year in 26 because of how many redshirt freshmen and freshmen we had this year. And it's maybe we throw a bunch of transfer portal guys at money at them
for
bring
1
them
year,
in
right?
for 1 year. That's right.
Then those guys behind them are then.
Yep. And then we've got Latif will have a whole nother year experience. We'll have some of the top rated players coming in. The 27 class is supposed to just be crazy. Like, so why not us, right? Like, at this point
that I don't think it's realistic to spend at a Ohio State or what Texas Tech did last year every year.
Yeah.
But if you were going to tell me 1 year to do it, I think this is the year.
This is the year, right? Yeah. I agree. Dave, when was the last time you and I were on the same page this much on any given day, let alone one show, right? Like, I mean, this is kind of where I'm at though. It's like, literally put your goddamn money where your mouth is. You know what I mean? Like, stop talking. Don't. I'm sitting here looking at a picture. I always have it up right here in my office. It's of my old track coach from high school. And like, he just used to say to me, don't tell me what you're going to do. Show me what you can do. Right. And like, literally, I try and live my life by that motto so often because it's such a good way to like approach any situation. And this is time for them to basically put up or shut up. as far as I'm concerned.
And to Vince in the chat, his point, you're right. I mean, we can buy all the shiny pieces, and if they don't work together, that's not gonna be any better. But there is examples out there of teams buying shiny pieces that do work together.
Yeah, we've got two, Texas Tech and Indiana. You know what I mean?
So I guess that raises the question: do you have confidence that this staff can identify those players in the portal and find those players? Because we've had examples of Jeff Sims, God help him, he's still playing at Arizona State, but he was brought in allegedly, and we were told he was an NFL caliber quarterback. Well, he clearly was not that. I mean, that wasn't going to happen. Our wide receivers this year, we went out and basically brought the entire Kentucky wide receiver crew over, and I don't know if they really performed as well as we thought they would, especially as the year went on. Some of that again might have been for quarterback changes and scheme, but I'm not sure they had the output we quite expected from most of them.
Yeah,
I guess that's a question. We were able to find some guys, like Rocco Spindler, guys that are good, and or at least
we could have used 3 more Rocco Spindlers.
Yes, but again, everybody wants those, so
it's super competitive.
That's the question. Can we find these?
Boomer at all? I'm just saying, I think it's what they need to try to do, because if you're going to run out a similar team as this year against that schedule next year, you're going to have some real problems here, right? And so just concerned. Nick Wolf says Key was good in my opinion when he could get open. I think
I have a few hot takes. I have a few hot takes about that one too.
Fire away, Ron.
What's that? I also think that it wasn't always the receiver's fault. For some reason this year, and I was a little underwhelmed with some of the things that Dylan was doing on the field while he was getting the completion rate. I think sometimes he sacrificed his completion percentage over, maybe taking a shot here and there downfield. It was almost like he took the touchdown to interception ratio from his freshman year so personally that he tried so hard not to do it. And if you go back and watch some of the all 22, there was times where he actually did have time and there was a receiver breaking open. And if he had just tried to take the ball and maybe lead them a little bit, might have had a big play, but instead he took the check down. Right. And for the small yardage. So I think that there's a little bit of both going on there when it came to some of our wide receivers. Sure. And maybe some people will call me out and tell me that I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I know what I see with my own eyes, Dave, and that's another one of those, Rob, is this like another Rob, field test or whatever, eye test? But I mean, I know what I saw, I wasn't really vocal about it during the season because, what's the point of that, right? I mean,
I guess I haven't seen too much of the all 22, so I can't speak too much to that.
I mean, I say all 22, but I would just go back and watch the games, recorded, and I would stop it on certain plays where you can see plays developing, right? From there. Mm-hmm. And then you can see guys cutting across the middle, and instead Dylan checks down to the running back to Emmett, or checks down to somebody over the middle instead. So I don't know. I mean, like I said,
so to break this down a little bit more, I mean, Dane Key, I believe, is a one and done, right? He was a senior, right?
I think so.
The other Kentucky guy never even made it into the program. So we recruited 2 and only 1 stuck around. But Isaiah Hunter does have more eligibility. And I do think he's got even greater potential. He has real speed and has, I could see him being an important part of the offense next year with Barney and some of those freshmen that just started to kind of show up and had a few moments, right? So I don't know how. I mean, I love to get another wide receiver from the portal, but it's probably not my biggest concern. It's really is. The trenches and fixing that immediately. So we'll see where that goes, I guess. But I'd like to think there's a little bit of we're retaining some of the better pass catchers we have with Barney and Hunter. Tight ends is Luke gone? Is that right?
Was he a senior this year? He
could be back.
Hold on tight ends. Luke Lindenmeyer's a junior, so he'll be back.
Yeah,
We've also got Harburg's Harburg is a senior. on this.
Yeah, he's a quarterback anyway.
Yeah, and then Carter Nelson is coming back. And was he injured most of this year? It was like that's kind of a name that I forgot about.
Sure, didn't get a lot of playing time.
No.
I don't know that, Rob. I don't think so.
He's a guy that I'm afraid if you look at too. Is he going to transfer? Or is he going to stay? I mean, that was one thing we had a luxury of last year too, which why I had so much optimism going in is we did not have a lot of transfers last year. So it's like
we lost some guys on the defensive side.
That was what
I said a lot. We did. I mean, James Williams, though. I mean, he left, and then what happened to him? Yeah, I mean, he disappeared faster than like his Twitter account. So I mean.
He did play for Florida State. I saw him a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, I mean, he's a one-trick pony, a heck of a pass rusher at times, but not able to do a lot else.
Yeah. He fit great in Tony White's defense here, not so much there.
Yeah. So. Nick Wolf asks if Emmett will stay another year. He says, personally, I think staying would give him more of a Heisman chance. Absolutely. I think you can package that story to Emmett Johnson that we would be promoting him as a Heisman candidate from day one, and I think he would be all Big Ten. But is that enough to keep him here?
I mean, honestly,
going in the draft.
So that's a great question too, though, because what you got to consider is where is he projected to go in the draft, right? Because the NFL is very much like set as far as like salaries go. Unless you're like a top first round pick, you aren't going to be making like, the money that you'd be making as a second, third, fourth, fifth round pick.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, that's where our NIL comes in. How much is he worth to Nebraska?
Yeah. You only need to pay him 2 years worth of NFL salary.
Right.
I would say I wouldn't disagree with you. I'm just, I'm putting it out there that's the reality of that situation.
Yeah. I think the big challenge is if he wants to go pro. Amir Abdullah kind of even mentioned it this week, and he kind of talked about how, he stayed an extra year and that puts extra mileage on you, and that kind of hurts you in the NFL. They don't like long. You don't have long careers as running backs in the NFL anyway.
It took him a year or two.
Are you going to be able to like improve your draft stock by staying another year? It just really just depends what he wants. Does he want a chance to win that Heisman or get that Gold Walker award?
A lot on tape.
Yeah, he does. I don't think he can improve like his draft stock anymore. He is what he is. He's not going to suddenly get bigger and be a huge, gigantic running back. And and I don't know how the NFL would look at him, having another season where he's the 80% of the offense getting 30 touches a game. That's just a lot of hits he's taking.
Yep.
So it really just depends. If he has pro aspirations, I would probably suggest he go. I mean, again, it's easy for me to say here, but
no, I agree. As much as I would love him to come back, I mean, the reality is, and this is with all NFL players, but running backs in particular, because of the mileage issue that they encounter, is that all you're trying to do is get to the second contract, right? To Rob's point, your rookie contract is pretty much set depending on where you get drafted at, and you're not going to be able to change much of that. But the quicker you start the clock on your rookie contract so you can actually get to the second contract and be productive is where you're going to make your money. And so,
if you make that money, right?
Yeah. But there's just more positives probably going in the draft as long as you think you're third or fourth round or above than not, right? Because you got to make the team and then stick around and get that second contract, and then that's when you have real like generational wealth, right? And like whatever NIL deal we can give them, it's not going to be generational wealth. It's going to be really nice money, and let me tell you, I take it. But
I'm not turning it down.
I'm not turning it down. Let me tell you.
That's I'm not saying no, but
Nick's right there. Yeah, it's
for a show where we said we weren't going to spend that much time on football, we have now spent almost 45 minutes on football. So
it's cathartic, Rob. We need this.
Right.
So,
I know.
And Nick is right. He commented again. He selfishly wanted to stay, and we would again for Husker reasons.
Yes,
but again, if you think about the team, it would probably be good for the program to say, hey, we got a running back into the NFL. He got drafted, and now he's, playing for whomever, on a weekly basis. That doesn't hurt either. Because that's kind of one of those things we've, always gets brought up is how few Huskers are in the NFL, how we don't get get players into that. That compares to other programs like Iowa or Minnesota who are getting people in the NFL. It's just okay, maybe this is a chance to do that. Even with somebody like him, it'd be a good start.
Great story though. I love the way he runs, and I wish we would have him another year. Just don't know if that's going to happen.
No.
Well, if that's enough on football, we'll wait anxiously till the bowl is announced. I'm guessing it's either Las Vegas or Nashville. Is that right, Boomer?
If it's Las Vegas, are we going? That's December 30th. We could all be back in time for New Year's if we leave on the 31st.
That is true.
Very easy flight.
Road trip, Dave?
Vegas, baby. Vegas.
Load up the family trucks, Rob.
Yep.
I mean, I've got a Highlander. I can seat 4 very comfortably with all of our bags in the back. So,
do you guys have a preference of who you'd want to see play? I've seen everything from Utah to Arizona to Missouri to LSU.
Arizona versus Nebraska would be a really fun matchup for my family.
Yeah, that would be a fun game. I'm concerned on Utah. I think Utah is too good for us. I don't like that matchup.
The running game would destroy us. That would be bad.
Yeah. But Arizona might be all right.
They've got a running quarterback. What could possibly go wrong there?
Right.
Unless they all set out, which is not impossible either.
That's
not impossible.
Nashville. I've seen Missouri. That could be interesting. LSU, I've also seen listed, and I'm like, that place, I have no idea what's going on there.
No, but Nebraska's got a great bowl history with LSU.
So, yeah.
Tended to beat them whenever needed a win in the 80s against somebody.
We go back to have some Sugar Bowl memories, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll see. All right, guys. Rob, you want to tackle some basketball real quick?
I mean, sure. I mean, we're 8-0. We are 23rd in the first net. I think, or 28th.
28th, I believe.
28th in the first net release rankings. I know RPI isn't really used that much more anymore, except they do use the strength of schedule component out of that, kind of in the net rankings. And I mean, we've been up really high. I think high as 5th in the RPI at one point this year. So I mean, there's a lot going on with that. I mean, we've got a game against Creighton this weekend, and quite frankly, until after that game, I'm going to withhold any real judgment about this team because we've seen so many sides to this Nebraska team so far. We know that when they're hot from 3, they are hot from 3. But when they're missing shots, one thing that they've been able to do against some of these other teams that maybe not so well known, like Winthrop is obviously well known, but they've been able to play good defense. Right. And I did see an adjustment for them in the second half against Winthrop where they weren't shooting so great. And then they started putting the ball inside more, playing more for 2, less for 3. And then that opened up some of those 3-point shooters who did eventually start to hit those shots. I think we didn't end up at the end of the game from 3 as bad as I thought we would. We ended up like 34%, which isn't terrible, but we started the game like 2 for 18 or some crap like that. So, I mean, we ended up hitting 13 threes in the game because we are going to live and die by that. But we did actually do a very good job of eventually, making shots outside of that. I mean, I believe like 16 of our shots that we did make of the 29 we made were inside. Most of them were.
That math shakes out, Rob.
Yeah. So thank you. I mean, you asked. I just, I really do like this team. I do like
this team.
Yes,
I agree, Rob.
Yeah.
I like it better than last year's team.
They look like a Big Ten team. How's that? A little bit more.
Yeah. And
toughness
so,
wise.
I mean, Boomer, I think we've seen a lot of iterations of the Fred Hoiberg offense, right, with various different components. I've always liked it best with Rink Mast. 2 years ago, that was our probably best offensive performance. Last year with Bryce, an amazing player, and I really liked the scrappiness of that team, but they kind of ran out of fuel at the end of the year. Well, long ways to go here. I do think that this team has set themselves up in a pretty good position. To Rob's point, beating Creighton this weekend would really nicely finish off the non-con. I don't know if we have anyone else left that of real value, but you already have Oklahoma and K-State as neutral site games. That's why that net and RPI look as good as it does. And considering what the Big Ten looks like this year, I mean, Purdue is the number one team in the country. I've watched Michigan State and Michigan both play and look really good. The Big Ten is going to be a grind. And if you go 10-10 or 11-9, but you've already racked up your wins in non-conference, I think we're going to be in great shape to get in. And if you really can make some noise in the Big Ten, you can actually move up that seed line pretty dramatically. So
they have us the way too early projections have us as a 4 seed right now, which quite frankly, I find that hilarious. But
but I mean, the metrics might be in our favor, right? I mean, there's almost going to be no bad losses in the Big Ten. Right? No, I mean, you're just not going to have a bad loss.
No,
so if they can get through this non-con with that many good wins, it's going to be promising, right? We may not need to sweat it. The difference this year and why I like this team and why I think it looks most like what Fred Hoiberg would want in an offensive team is that it's the depth in three-point shooting. To your point, Rob, any team that lives and dies by the three is going to have a game, maybe two, where the wheels fall off and they don't make shots.
Yeah.
And we've seen that before.
We're just and honestly, I'm not going to be mad if we are winning more games than we're losing, and we have a couple games like that. I'm not going to be mad, especially if they come on the road in the Big Ten, because it is what it is. Also, real quick, there's a guy in the comments right now saying, like, do you guys read these and asking all these questions? And he says, would you shave your head for zeros? I would. I literally did. So I don't know what else you want from us.
For $0?
Yeah, like I shaved my own head, so I did it for $0. He asked if we read these too, so I figured. What the hell? Yeah.
So I guess
getting that out of the way.
I guess I would say that that why I think that's that one or two games where they're not going to hit anything is acceptable is that now losing a Cegian is a hit, even though he wasn't starting and he maybe wasn't going to be called upon as much. Is that what I like about this team with the 3-point shooting is that you have enough depth on 3-point shooters that you can just keep on subbing players in until you find someone with a hot hand.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
It's like you're not relying on just Casey or someone like that to be the guy that day, right? You can just keep on funneling through until you find the one that's hitting the threes. And then
Frager, Hoiberg, Jacobson, Sanford, like those 4 guys right there. I mean, I can stop right there because there are a couple other guys that could get hot.
Lawrence or Mast yet?
No,
right?
And I haven't even done it. Well, we don't even need Mast to hit. This could be more like
he's still going to hit him though.
Where you want to leave me open on the outside? Fine, you know what I mean. Like then I'll hit a 3 in your face. And on the other side too, you can pick and roll the hell out of him. On the inside if people start guarding him out on the line. So there's a lot of different options out there. With this team that we haven't had in the past. And it's really nice. And most importantly, though, Dave, forget the offensive part of it. I really, really, really like the way this team plays defense. They are fundamental. They stay down on the ground. You don't see them leaving their feet a lot, playing defense. You see them getting the boards, right? Rebounding was always one of our big bugaboos. And right now we are pulling rebounds. We got 2 guys that are close to 7 foot that are capable of doing that. And the nice thing is you get those guys posting up or blocking out inside on shots. And then all of a sudden guys like Cegian and Hoiberg end up with 6, 7, 8 rebounds a game as well, because, guys are basically being boxed out inside, and then the ball pops out somewhere like that, and Hoiberg comes in and picks up scraps. So, I mean, and it's great. And their transition game has looked really good. They've been really aggressive going to the basket on the transition game. They're not just stopping and pulling up for 3. They're actually going in and trying to drive to the hoop. It's a different team than we've seen. So I don't know.
Boomer, the only thing that I guess I would question what Rob just said is the defense. I've only seen a few games. They have given up plenty of points, right? I mean, at times, but they're outscoring. But the question will be: is are we going to be ready for Big Ten wars that occur in the Big Ten, right?
I think my big
yeah.
concern is some of these last couple of games, were like the slow starts that we saw. Like USC Upstate, that was a dismal start to that game, and Winthrop's a rock fight. They took Arkansas to the wire.
We held them to 37%, 38% for
right.
For the record.
They were Oklahoma. I think we started pretty slow at. You're not going to be able to do that in the Big Ten. I think and count on a whole lot of comebacks. So I'm really hoping they kind of got that out of their system.
I mean, the points I'm not.
And we've got this. I think is obviously this next stretch of 3 games is really going to tell us a whole heck of a lot about this team. You've got Creighton and Wisconsin at home, then you go on the road to Illinois. So I mean, none of those are easy. No. I mean, it's probably a down year for Creighton, but this is like Dave said, this is that last non-con game you've got to win because North Dakota and New Hampshire aren't going to do anything for your resume builder. Yeah. So
Creighton. My thought there is you beat Creighton and you just somehow split the other 2.
Yes, yeah, either one is fine. You defend home court, or hell, if you go on the road and beat Illinois, that would be either of those is great because, like you said, Dave, the Big Ten is going to be a rough stretch. You like said, Michigan State is great. I've watched Michigan a couple times, and they've just completely annihilated Auburn and Gonzaga this last week. I mean, those games weren't even close.
Yeah,
and there is kind of a small plus to that is like we only see currently the top teams, the Big Ten. We only play them once. I mean, we only play Michigan once. I think we only see Michigan State once. Yeah. We get Illinois twice. Purdue only once. So I guess it depends how you look at it. We either have one shot to beat them or lose to them, or we don't run the risk of losing to them twice. So take that for whatever it's worth. But
I mean, the only team that so far that I can see that we've even allowed close to 50% shooting was Oklahoma, and we won that game.
Speaking of Oklahoma,
but every other team that we played this year, and I know it is what it is about who we played, but we've held most of these teams under 40% shooting, which is a huge mark. Some of them more closer to 37, 38% shooting. Mm-hmm. That's overall, right? And so while the games may be closer, that's why I keep talking about the defense, Dave, is while the games may be closer than we'd like, and the points, I mean, we get hot from 3 in some of these games because we haven't been so hot in some of those, even though the percentages tend to work themselves out after slow starts. The games are much bigger, beats, I guess you would call them, against those teams or wins against those teams and what we do have. At the end of the day, there's our first end of the day of the show for Honky. We're 8-0. So, I mean, I guess that's really what matters for sure.
Just to point out our strength of schedule and those wins, you mentioned Oklahoma, Rob. They're on TV tonight. They beat Wake Forest in the ACC SEC Challenge 86-68. Mm-hmm. Blew out Wake Forest by 18 points. Again, we look to be the better team when we played against Oklahoma. Now we're essentially at a home game, but the net tells us that was a neutral site, so we'll take it.
Yep.
All right, guys.
They make the rules. We just take advantage of them.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
I'm for basketball, no, but I will say this: congratulations to all of our volleyball players who have successfully navigated through the Big Ten season undefeated. We got DBK was Big Ten Coach of the Year. I guess you could call this my parting shot if we really want to.
Yeah, let's start it.
Congratulations, DBK was Big Ten Coach of the Year. Bergen Riley was Big Ten Player of the Year and Big Ten Setter of the Year. Rebecca Alec was the All Big Ten First Team. Andy Jackson, Harper Murray were also All Big Ten First Team. You got Lainey Choboy, Taylor Landfair, Virginia Adriana, or Taylor Landfair, Lainey Choboy, second team All Big Ten. Virginia Adriana was all freshman team, and Macy Bosiger, I think that's how you say her last name, was the Big Ten Sportsmanship Award. So we cleaned up in the postseason awards for volleyball. They're 30-0.
Rob.
They play Friday. Yeah, they play Friday night at 7 p.m. Central Time in their first round matchup. I would say to everyone, watch as much of this volleyball tournament as you can. There are a lot of really good, entertaining teams out there. I know personally, Thursday night, I have some time and some emotional investment into the Northern Colorado Bears, who are playing Creighton in Omaha on Thursday. So that'll be a good matchup. I have no doubt in in my mind that Northern Colorado will give them a good match. How's that? They seem to take a lot of teams to 5 sets this year. I think Northern Colorado is a better team than what may look like on paper. I watched them through the entire Big Sky tournament, and I would say their biggest asset is they've got some really good players. They've got a girl out of, I think her name, Maddie, what's her name? God, now all of a sudden I can't remember. But they got a girl. She is Nebraska. She's from Lincoln South High School. So, I mean, it's and she's a big impact player on that team this year. So go Bears, go Big Red, and yay. Yay.
Boomer, have you ever been to Lincoln South?
No, but I've driven by Lincoln Southeast and Southwest. So
yeah.
Odds are good. So either way, the direction of school is all over.
Did I get that wrong? Is that
it's all right, Rob?
Yeah,
I don't know.
You don't live there. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's a joke. All right, Boomer, get us out of here.
Yeah, I don't have anything nearly as exciting. It's just the football season might have been slightly disappointing, but we're hitting that winter sports schedule, and there's a lot of positivity there. Men's and women's basketball is looking good. You've got volleyball playoffs around the corner, and there's other sports. Please go out and support. There's even indoor track coming up on December 12th. There's, wrestling's going in full swing. There's all sorts of swimming and diving. I think kicks off in certain things. So lots of opportunities to go out, and maybe gymnastics I think starts in January as well. So a lot of opportunities to go out and enjoy some other different Husker sports. If you've never had a chance to go out and just watch some of these other teams play, they would appreciate, fans coming out and just seeing them. It's a good opportunity. They're usually fairly cheap, if not free. So good chance to take the family and just enjoy something a little different in the off season. So go Big Red.
And it was Lincoln Southwest.
There we go.
Yep. There you go. I knew it was a directional school somewhere like that. So.
All right. Great stuff, guys. Enjoyed the show. I think that was a good conversation about football, balanced, meaningful conversation, and spun some optimism on basketball. For now, let's call that another Go Big Redcast.
Go Big Red.
A Herd at Sports Network production.